Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're taking a quick look at Dragon Magazine issue 157 from May 1990, one of many RPG mags with Star Wars EU compatible content. For the Greater Good, a new force power for the West End game Star Wars system by Carl Sargent. It proposes a new force power, which is in some sense the logical implication of an existing power from West End games you see all throughout the West End games RPG system discussed in the core rulebook. That's further clarified upon here, that basic idea being that you've got the Jedi sort of force power to what, in some sense, sort of sense who the baddies are in the room, that you can sense people's strength. The implication, of course, is that you can presumably sense people's weaknesses and enter the control and sense an alter power, sometimes known as the control and alter power, other times just the alter power. What is this? It's pretty straightforward, but pretty meaningful. Using this power, the Jedi may be able to reduce damage inflicted by the lightsaber, truly a lethal weapon in the hands of a Jedi with fair control skill. By using this alter power, the Jedi empathetically knows how much life energy his opponent has. Control and alter are used to reduce the damage the weapon inflicts, so that a murderous wound may be reduced, because as the intro reminds us, you as a Jedi in the EU or in your RPG campaign shouldn't be relishing killing, right? It's not something you want to do. Sometimes, of course, you have to do it. But if you got over here, as we understand from the West End game system, the power to sort of sense strength, you presumably have, by way of logical implication, the power to sense weakness, and you can adjust your sort of lethal attacks accordingly, and not just for living creatures, but for droids and computers, machinery too, right? That you don't want to completely incapacitate, forever, right? So an interesting new force power. It's sort of, I mean, I guess there's nothing like it, right? Although I couldn't help but feel, I couldn't help but recall the scene from Dark Rendezvous when Scout sort of tries to get the upper hand in lightsaber sparring, right? By grabbing a training lightsaber blade to sort of, confuse her opponent, right? And sort of get the upper hand. Of course, that's different in the sense, I mean, that's a mechanical, structural sort of, tweak, right? I mean, you're using a lightsaber that is designed not to have a lethal blade. Whereas this is an actual Jedi Force power that can in some way sort of sense your opponent's weaknesses and adjust the lethal blast accordingly, right? So it's an interesting twist on that. Not to gloss over this, but just some quick clarifications here around the life sense power. The idea here again is that, like, you don't relish killing people, but you certainly, you don't necessarily regret going after the true slime here, right? And just the idea is that you can use this force power to understand who the baddies are. There's just some clarification here for game players and game masters, right? About this is something that should be reflexive, not something you necessarily need to announce, right? There's just some additional mechanics for gameplay, the sort of thing that's just so generic and so specific to gameplay that I don't think rises to the level of unique additional contribution to EU lore, but nonetheless helpful for clarifying how to run the most interesting RPG system for the West End Games Star Wars series. In any event, For the Greater Good by Carl Sargent. Before we end this, it's always fun to take a look at some of these vintage ads from the era. Star Wars, who said there's nothing new in the galaxy? Some of these great supplements, Black Ice, Scoundrel's Luck. Boy, it's just so much fun, and we'll get to those in future videos. Escape from the Death Star, with a list of all the available products at the time, the hardcovers, the miniatures, those amazing supplements, those galaxy guides, and all these different games, and then the supplements. Oh my gosh! I mean, look at these things. Other Space 2, Crisis on Cloud City. One of the most sought after because it comes with original set of Sabbath cards, almost impossible to find today. Other Space 1, Starfall, Tatooine Manhunt, and these solitaire adventures, Jedi's Honor, Scoundrel's Luck. Oh, the list goes on and on. So much fun to see that stuff. In any event, Dragon 157, one of many Dragon magazines we'll be covering in future videos. See you next time.